Hi everybody, the vinyl community, John back again. So, as promised, I was going to show some prog records for a change. I've been off the prog a little bit, but I thought I'd dive back in because I've got a few records to show. While I'm doing that, I'm listening to Humble Pie. This is a Humble Pie twofer that I have. For the longest time I've had it for this record, Town and Country. This is just a favourite record, and I've collected pretty much most of Humble Pie's catalogue, and I've sort of, never really explored it too much, but recently I've just sort of really got into Steve Marriott, and I was sort of reading up a bit about him and that, and this sort of enthusiasm that he always had for his rock music and things. So I started reading up about the actual other albums, and this is the first one I'm listening to, As Safe as Yesterday, Humble Pie, and it's really good. It's strange, just sort of getting stuck on this sort of acoustic record that he did, and not really paying much of the rest of the albums and its attention, but really getting into what's his name now, the guitarist guy, Peter Frampton, so much so that I even started looking into his solo stuff. Anyway, back to the prog. The first album I'm going to sort of talk about is a new one. This is one that I got for Christmas. My mum sent some money over for Christmas, and I used a little bit of that to buy myself a record or two. This is a band that I'd sort of had my eye on for a while. They're called Garenfo, and the album is Some of Erda. Still in the shrink. They're a British band, and they come from Norwich in Norfolk, which is over on the east coast where I'm from, of England, but 2 counties above, I suppose. I come from Essex. The next one along is Suffolk, where my dad used to come from, and then the one above that is Norfolk. Norwich. No, Norfolk. Norwich is the capital city. So it's a nice splatter marbled green vinyl. Like I said, I'd sort of had my eye on these for a while, and held off from sort of buying the record until I could, splash out and buy it. And I'm really glad I did, because it is a good record. This band is, I think, there's certainly a band to look out for. It's the first album. They have released material before, albeit fairly sort of independently. I haven't really looked into what that is, but I assume it's sort of live gigs and things like that. This is their first studio album, and I really like their guitar sound. It's nice. I haven't been impressed by so much sort of recent British progressive rock. There's a few bits and pieces around. Some of the bands I'm just really not into very much, but this band sound great, and I really hope they follow up with a strong album too, because I can imagine these would become quite a popular band amongst the prog heads in the UK. So there, Garenfo. Have a good listen to this. difficult one to say. Siegfried Fröhling. I guess that's the name, 3 names of the people in the band. I think they're a German krautrock band. Particularly this record, but this band are often cited as being major influences on Englagård, which is one of my favourite bands. So I didn't really know what to expect when I brought this home, or when it arrived home. I quite enjoy it. I think really the focus is on the, the mellotron. Here's some pictures of the band on the back of their keyboards, but there's definitely a lot of similar sounding mellotron type music on this to what you hear in Englagård, which is nice. They don't have anywhere near the kind of complexity that I like to hear in prog rock, but it's certainly heading in the right direction. This is the only album of theirs I've got. I don't know if I'll get any more, possibly. Anyway, so it's SFF for you. Next up is a bit of a budget record. This is something that I picked up, I can't even remember when I bought this. I think, in fact I can't even remember if I've shown you before. I don't think I have, but I'm going to show it now. It's Early Morning Onwards. It's a Barclay James Harvest compilation album. It's not a straight comp because it's one of those ones that sort of got released just about the point when the band was breaking. They'd had 3 albums out and they were slowly starting to get a name for themselves, so this music highlights music from the first 3 albums they made, but it also includes a selection of A's and B sides of singles that they'd had that hadn't appeared on albums before. So it's quite an interesting glimpse into the early days of Barclay James Harvest. I don't mean to sound unkind, but yeah, they are still a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of buy these records with tongue firmly in cheek. I haven't really got so much into them yet that I can say I'm a huge fan, but I keep on trying because I do pick up the records. But I guess I'm still trying desperately to sort of grasp at what it is that people find. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So when this album first came out, it had a slightly different cover, and this is sort of like the budget version, I think, of this Starline EMI cover. It's apparently when this came out, it was a budget record anyway, but it's said that you could buy this for less than £1 on its release, which is interesting. I don't know how much records cost in those days, or 1973, but the idea of spending £1 on a brand new record is intriguing to me. Although I suppose back in 1973 £1 didn't sound quite as small amount as it does today. Anyway, so that's Barclay James Harvest.
It's cold and the sun is white, for I was born in the darkness before the light of a new day, a new way of living, of giving delight. And if you may, then you may be slipping back into the night. Then all knowing, with words and with pen I write.
I'm going to follow up now by showing a couple of records. I believe I picked these up when I got together with Sean Whelan when he came to Cardiff. When was it? I guess it must have been before Christmas. So it's 12th Night. Now 12th Night are a band, a neo-progressive rock band. For those that don't know what that means, they were sort of progressive rock bands that came in the 80s. So yeah, there's a distinct sort of sound that many of these bands have that is particularly prevalent, I think, in 12th Night. Is that there's, you know, obviously sort of progressive rock elements there, but you can really hear sort of almost a good chunk of new wave sort of forced into there too. I always think of it being neo-prog as being sort of essentially progressive rock, but it's no longer analog. It's sort of played on, you know, what were at the time sort of quite new modern keyboards, synthesizers, and there's sort of I guess a sort of a technicality to them, which was always there, but because it's no longer analog, it seems to have a sort of a lot harder, sort of crisper edge, I suppose. And also, I think it's the case that neo-prog tends to be slightly darker. There's kind of a darker mood to the quality of the music that you'll find in neo-prog. Anyway, so 12th Night, they were definitely a very big band of their day in this genre or sub-genre. Bands like Marillion, IQ, Palace, there's lots of them. Anyway, so happy to have found that. I'll do a little needle drop, I think, of this. Before I do that, I want to go on and show this album, because I got this as well on the same day. And this is pretty good. This is really good. I like this one, and I think this is really what made me buy the other one. This one's got a really cool gatefold. That's amazing, isn't it? I like that. 12th Night. I think this is about the 4th or 5th album. I had a copy of this before, but I didn't have the cover, so it's just a record that I'd kept without the cover, whereas now I've got the cover, and that's nice. This could do a little bit of a dust up, I think, but there's Anyway, yeah, I think I'll do a needle drop one of these albums, or maybe Anyway, so that's my lot today. I've got a few more around me that I'm going to show and talk about perhaps in my next video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this was mildly interesting to everybody. Check out my next video. Thanks very much.